Cool. This is Final Boss Banter. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Shayeb, and I have the lovely Shanique here with us somewhere on one of my sides. We just want to say thank you for tuning in. We know there's a lot of podcasts out there, so we're very grateful that you're listening to this one. All we ask is that if you do enjoy what you're hearing, please just leave a comment, hit the subscribe button, and today we are going to talk about an event that I attended, which is all the way in the Malaysia land, and it is called Comic Fiesta. There you go, there it is. I have a lot of what's it called? I have a lot of opinions on this one. Okay, so obviously we here at the podcast, we love anything related to pop culture, video games and all the such. So I'm a very avid attendee of London Comic Con, which also the lovely Shanique is also. We love attending. It's very fun. We spend too much money there most times, but it's what we like. And so when I moved to Malaysia, it was obviously for me to find something similar here, right? Okay, I hear you thinking, Shanique, what was it like? You can ask me. You can.
What was it like, Shayeb?
Oh, what an unexpected question. It was a very interesting event, actually, especially to compare it to London. I'm just gonna go chronologically in how I experienced it, and then you can ask whatever. But number one, organization was very poor, very poor. Yeah.
Oh, how so?
Okay, so basically, right, you arrive, and keep in mind, attendance-wise, it's almost the same as London per day. Like me and my wife, we were like trying to figure it out. We were sort of like, is this feel more busier? Like it feels busier. But then when I asked ChatGPT, it was like, I got it to break down some of the numbers, and I was like, it's the same. Like there's the same amount of people, but why does it feel like infinitely busier? It's because of how they did the organization.
You trust ChatGPT for that?
Yeah. I was just like, reference me I always ask for references, so I'm like using reference.
Remember, it makes up references.
No, does it?
Yeah. That,
anyway,
about the lawyer that got in trouble?
Let's just pretend for a minute it was in the wheelhouse of what we're talking about.
Okay.
But anyway, right? We get there and it's big, like thick lines, right? Massive lines of people, and it's outside. And obviously in Malaysia, it's relatively warm, right? Luckily, it wasn't that warm. But the queue had this thing where the queue sort of went in a direction. There was no stanchions. There was no like barriers, and it sort of looped around. So you're walking in this direction this way, only to basically walk back the way you came. So there's a queue. Look, there's a queue this way, right? Then there's another queue going that way. So there's like two queues. But it's like you're making me walk this way, only to come back around, and then between these two queues, there's no stanchion, so anyone can go from this queue to that queue. But why are we everyone's walking in a direction as if no one's going to break the rules, which most people didn't. But there was like one or two like rogue people that were just like alone, that just were like sort of jumping queues. So I'm standing there like for like the last 20-30 minutes, like, well, you're making me walk this way, but like, shouldn't you not have put more stanchions across here so people can't just cut, right? And then they made 4 queues for bag checks. But they weren't really checking your bags, right? They would sort of like, oh yeah, that's all right. Like, you're making me wait for so long, and you're not even checking everyone's stuff properly. Like, what? I don't get it. And so we got to their entrance. When you get to the entrance, you like boop your little thing, like your tag, and then it wasn't really very clearly marked out what was what. Like, when you go to London Comic Con, you sort of know, okay, this is the area where all the big franchises are going to be. Like, regardless of if you're into them or not, okay, Sega is here, You know, Microsoft is over there, or X, Y, and Z. Like all these booths are here. Like, cool. I know where they are. That's fine. But it wasn't really clearly marked out. And as we're getting in there, because the crowd is walking in a direction, we were sort of like, well, everyone is like very much like walking straight ahead. So like, I guess you don't really stop here, or this is not as interesting as anything else, because so many people are just moving in a direction. So you're like, well, no one's stopping here, so this must not be that interesting, right? And because this is our first time, right? So we're sort of thinking, well, there must be something more interesting to see, because there's literally like 200 people ahead of us that are like adamant to keep walking straight. So we walk into the next section, and then we're like, is that it? Like, it felt like half of the hangar, half of a half of like London. So then we discovered that there was more booths, but they had an upstairs. So you have to like try and find the upstairs. But it's confusing, because when you try and go to the upstairs, there's like little pockets where you could accidentally merge to the exit. So if you're not watching where you're going, you could accidentally exit the event, and then you have to queue up all over again to like go around. So now you've got like this level of anxiety of like, I have to watch exactly where I'm going, otherwise I'll accidentally exit and we have to wait all over again, right? With the people who are Huh? There was a map. But there was a map. Don't get me started on the map. There was a map, but the map doesn't really tell you how to get here. Like, there's no arrows of like which floor this is on. It just tells you the entrance and the exit. Like, it doesn't tell you like, how do I get here? Like, I don't know. And then there's also another thing. The ledger is completely useless, because they number everything, but this is not in numerical order. This is in order of the stands. So the stands are in alphabetical order. So all these numbers are jumbled up. So if you find...
Isn't that normal?
No, it's the other way around. You would find the number, then you'd find the corresponding number, because the number is in order, then you'd find the name of the place. But it's the other way around, except it's not.
No, it's not.
Is it not?
No.
Okay, whatever. Either way, I couldn't follow it. Right? And so, like, and then also, look on this ledger, right? P. Mm-hmm. But there's nowhere to say that you're supposed to disregard the P, right? Because this P actually only means premium. But there's nowhere to say, ignore the P and just go for the M, right? So then you got to look for M. But by the way, this is not even corresponding to what is actually there. Yeah, because apparently it wasn't finalized. Because I can't find... Yeah, I wanted to find... So I took his card, but I lost his card. He makes Pokemon cards, but like customized. So like if I wanted a Pokemon card made of me, we can get one made of me, right? So I wanted to make one with me and my wife, because I thought it'd be quite cool. But I was like, oh, maybe I'll do it later, because he was saying he's booked until half of 2025. So took his card, can't find his card now. Oh, let me look at the ledger to, try and find his booth. His booth's not even on there. And I know that because I found the electronic ledger, and I couldn't find him on the electronic ledger either, right?
Okay.
So, anyways, we're now walking, and there was not... Look, I'm going to get you to read this again, yeah? What does that say? What does that say?
Comic Fiesta.
Okay. What's that first word?
Comic.
What would you expect there to be?
Comics.
Was there any? Was there any? Was there even one? No, not until day 2, where I found 4. I found 4 in the whole event. I found 4 comics where a dude, he was selling like stickers or something, his mate left them there. And they weren't even like banger comics. They were okay. And one of them had been like drawn on. So it was worth like £150. But because someone accidentally drew an indent on the actual page and damaged it, it was worth like less than a £5. And it wasn't even signed by Todd McFarlane, it was King Spawn. And I wanted it signed by Seth MacFarlane because he made Spawn. But it's signed by someone else. It was like, okay, well, even if I did want to buy it because it was relatively cheap, number 1, it's damaged. Number 2, it's not even made by the creator. Okay, so here we are at the event, yeah. We finally we finally are going upstairs, and guess what? The upstairs loops around on the outside. That means people can kind of like sort of get in from that side. So you're not even security guarding it properly. Like the whole event was just such a mess. Like at least at the London Comic Con, yeah, you do sort of have to wait, but they kind of trick your brain because they create all these stanchions. You know, every time you go, you have to like sort of walk for ages. You have to like walk in a loop.
I'm going to have to stop you there. I don't do queuing. I buy my ticket and I have it posted to me so that I can go through the back entrance, and I do not queue.
No, but you've done that walk before, innit? I think we've done it together, like where you have to sort of walk. Like, and it's not really waiting. Huh?
Not for years. I didn't.
But you know what I'm talking about.
Inside.
You know what I'm talking about, though. You do that walk where it's like loads of stanchions. Anyway.
I vaguely remember it.
Anyway, the point is, they sort of like confuse you into thinking like you're moving because that hangar is so big, and they create such a walkway that you don't feel like you're waiting because you're just constantly walking to try and get to that part. And then maybe there's a little bit of waiting at the end, right? But here it was just like a free for all. It was just so bad. And then so the first two halls had some representation of like brands. And I think you would have loved this, by the way. This is like completely up your street. The next two biggest halls, they only had independent artists. Like only independent artists. Like I would say this event was probably like 85% independent artists. And I'm not against that, right? Like I like them, like I buy stuff from them. Like it's not an issue, yeah? Like look at this. This is cool.
Yeah.
Look, I got this from an independent artist. This is a durian fruit from Malaysia, but made to look like a dragon, yeah? It's really cool.
Yeah.
So I love independent artists, and I always try and make it an issue when I was in London Comic Con to see them. It was like the last thing we'd do, we'd see them and really take your time, look at their work, right? But 80%, like no one told me like it was gonna be mostly I think it's because Malaysia.
Isn't Comic-Con?
Huh?
Isn't Comic-Con mostly independent artists?
I would say
Like
I would say independent businesses, but also they have like you would go to an independent business, but maybe their booth is like all Pokemon, or it's all like all video games, or it's all like this, it's all like that. Like that's cool, that's fine. Or they're a comic book store and they sell comic books, right? Which you would expect at a Comic Fiesta anyway. Yeah. Like you would they would be an independent business, which is fine, but they would then also have, you know, a bunch of like mainstream-esque stuff like comic books, video games, retro video games, that kind of stuff, right? And
oh, you mean 80% of the event was independent artists, not 80% of the artists were independent?
What do you mean? I'm confused now.
So you said 80% of them were independent artists. Do you mean the event, of the whole event, 80% of what was there was independent artists?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you meant 80% of the artists who were there were independent. I was like, isn't that normal?
No.
I
it was
understand
majority
now.
Like it was majority like not branded stuff. Like Microsoft, there was like barely any presence. There was maybe like there was a cinema company there. There was like one or two PC companies.
What was in the cosplay market?
We did go to the cosplay thing. So the cosplay thing was really, again, you would have loved it. A lot of this stuff you would have loved. Trust me, if you were there, it would have been completely. The thing is for me, like, I just wanted to see like comic books. I wanted to see video games. I wanted to see like stuff that you would see normally at like, you know, Comic Con in London. Like that's what I was expecting. But it was like the opposite. And again, it was probably more up your street, but
I must admit, I go to Comic Con for the food and for the talks.
Okay, then maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But this part I really did. I did like look, in promoting independent artists and stuff like that, I don't have a problem with. But like, I just wanted to buy like comic books and video games and other stuff that I don't get the chance to see because they're in Malaysia, but they're just very dotted around. Like you have to travel like a lot of different places. So anyway. We go to the cosplay was the last thing we saw. So basically what this is cosplayers who have like rented out the booths, and you get to meet and greet them. So they're not like super famous. They're like low to mid tier, I'd say. Like maybe some of them had like, I don't know, like 10,000 followers or something like that. So they're not like unknown, but they have like, they're trying to build. And I really thought that was cool. I was like, you know what? Like this, you could literally look at them and like, they want to do this as a career. They want to do this as their life. And they're getting the chance to promote themselves and meet people and basically like build out their brand. And I thought that was really cool. It's not for me. Like I won't necessarily walk around in the cosplay area in that market, but it was mostly people like, I would say all of it was meet and greets. They had like products that they sell, like t-shirts and that kind of stuff, but like from their own brand. It was cool, but there wasn't really like, you know, if you're thinking like, you know, like materials and fabrics and that kind of stuff, it wasn't really that. It was more like a meet and greet. So that was cool. We looked at it. We kind of left it after that because it was just like, okay, there's not really anything here for us. And we don't really know any of the cosplayers who are actually here. So genuinely found at that point, we were rating the experience like 3 out of 10. It was so bad. Like the organization was horrible. Just everything was just not that good, right? And then the saving grace, the absolute saving grace of the anime Solo Leveling. Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
You've heard of Solo Leveling?
Yeah, I've watched it.
Solo Leveling saved us. It actually saved us, yeah, because they were doing, and so they were doing a panel, like a Solo Leveling panel, and the night before I kind of made like a semi itinerary of like, well, if we don't find anything to do, we'll do this. So we went to the Solo Leveling panel. It was so good. It literally like turned our entire experience around. Like if it wasn't for them, like it would have made the whole thing a waste. Like my wife was like, I'm so glad I didn't waste a holiday day on this. Like she was like, I'm glad this was a normal day off because I did not want to use a holiday day. And basically, so Solo Leveling, we had the official voice actor, the Japanese voice actor, interviewed. Sorry, let me do this chronologically. So first, they showed us a sneak peek of episode 1, season 2. So it's not out yet. They showed us the first 15 minutes of that. That was amazing. I don't think they showed us the final of it because I feel like it was cut up a little bit because I felt like it was jumping around. And I don't think they showed us the intro. But they showed us the first 15 minutes of Solo Leveling season 2. And that was already worth it, yeah? Then they brought out the voice actor and he was interviewed. And that was cool because he was talking in Japanese and the host, she was talking in like English and Japanese. It was so cool to see like the bilingualness of like Malays. Like they're so beyond like capable, do you know what I mean? Like it was really cool to see that. And then he also did a live dubbing. So they went back to like episode 1 and they put a spotlight on him and he had his like little, he had his actual script of season 1 and he was like voicing the whole thing. And then like there was technical difficulties of the show, right? And he was like, oh, do you guys know how to like flip a page with one hand and like so that it doesn't make a noise? I can't do it. But he was showing how he would like flip a page and like with one hand, like with like this kind of technique and like just making jokes out of it because, you know, he was just waiting for and it was so funny because he was like, what did he say? He was like, going aside, like, sorry, please, like, can you restart the clip? Because he wasn't ready. And it was just, the whole thing was so good. And then he did a live dubbing and that was cool. We did like a Q&A. Honestly, we came out of that like completely so glad we came to that. Then after we spent like more time with the artists, because I think it just took us aback. We weren't necessarily expecting it, but then after the panel, we felt a bit more like, okay, we know what to do, like we know what we're gonna see. We also then met this guy. He was probably the number 2 highlight for me on day 1 because I bought a weekend pass. He was the highlight for me. Yeah, he was so funny. This guy has invented this game called, just read that,
Okay.
HR, the Toxic Workplace Game. And it literally, he was like, do you want me to teach you how to play the game? And he was literally, listen, that guy was so hilariously funny. Yeah, he was like, he goes, I have distilled my entire 20-year career into being in toxic workplaces. And basically, I'm not gonna try and explain the whole game, but you know, it's basically you're a manager of a toxic workplace, and your whole aim is to get the other managers' employees fired by giving them notice periods. So let's say you're a manager and I'm a manager. Okay, I am gonna try and explain the game. So let's say you're a manager and I'm a manager. You have 4 employees. I have 4 employees. I'll get these like attack cards, and the attack cards will be like it will be like a warning letter, right? So I can give you like one of your employees like a warning letter like this, where it's like system error. Give all the employee like that's probably. Yeah, look, here's a good warning letter. Yeah, warning letter is called blabbermouth. Yeah, so that means your employee was a blabbermouth, and now he's got a warning letter. And once he has 4 warning letters, he gets fired. And each of these are like hilarious. Like, there's another one like hotshot lawyer cousin. And honestly, the way he was pitching us the game, it was so funny. And obviously my wife's sort of in HR, so I was like, we need to get this game. Like, you'll never find this game anywhere ever again, probably. And it's so funny, so we bought the game. And that was really good. And yeah, anytime anyone comes for a games night, we're gonna bust this out and we're gonna start firing some people. So that was cool. And yeah, that was kind of it for day 1. So day 2, I get into the event. And basically what is interesting about the event is that they really obsessed with stamps. They're really obsessed with stamps. They love their stamps. So I didn't really have anything to like stamp with, right? So I bought this because I was like, this is cool. Like, durian is like a big, really popular fruit in Malaysia. Not very tasty, sorry to say. Makes you burp for ages as well. Like? It kind of tastes like a wet it tastes like a wet jackfruit. Like a jackfruit, but slightly slimier.
Like a sweet jackfruit?
Jackfruit's a little bit sweet anyway, right? But sweeter than that.
There's different breeds of it.
It's also a part of the jackfruit family, I guess.
Oh, okay. So it's another breed of jackfruit.
I think so, yeah. But they do also have jackfruits here as well, so it's like you can have both. So yeah, I got this, and then I managed to get a few stamps. So these are the stamps. You can see there's a Pokemon stamp right there. This is some random stamp. This one, she was the best. She had like the cleanest like stamp in terms of like, that's a really cool one. So that was cool. So basically my day 2, because I was going alone on day 2, I was a bit more like, what will I actually find to do there? So there was one event which was like a Attack on Titan recap, right? And I was like, okay, like the actual events were looking like they were better than like walking around, and because there probably was going to be all the same booths, I thought let me just go to the show and then I'll look at some of the booths. So basically, so this is quite interesting, right? So I didn't know. So you got there. This is the schedule, right? So this is, I don't know if you can see that, but this is like art challenge. And I was like, I'm not going to go to the art challenge because I'm not artistically inclined. So this is going to be like a waste for me. Like, so I thought art challenge meant I'm participating. That's not what it means. it means whoever's on the stage, they are doing a art challenge. Like they are challenging themselves. But I read that as like, I'm going to be participating. So I was like, well, I'm going to lose if I participate. So like, no, I won't do that. But because I had sort of walked around the event, there wasn't really anything left for me to do. So I thought, let me go to this art challenge and I'll just watch some of it. And then that means I'm early for the Attack on Titan recap, right? Turns out the art challenge was done by like two famous YouTubers that I sort of kind of like, I kind of watch their crew. So they're like from Japan, right? And and they were really talented. Like they were doing like a 1 minute. So they are animation art YouTubers. But I didn't know that they made so the name is Emirichu and Didus. Yeah, I don't know if you've heard of them, but basically they do this thing of like story. They tell a story and then they'll animate the story, right? But I didn't know that they collectively known as Spilled Ink, right? They're known as Spilled Ink, yeah. So when I read that Spilled Ink on there, I just thought, oh, it's like I don't know. It's just like a creative name for the event. I didn't know it was these two together. So I get there and they're doing like amazing art. It was so cool. Like, and keep in mind, I just went there early because I wanted to watch the Attack on Titan thing later. And they're drawing like Final Fantasy VII characters. They're drawing their friends. Like I know some of their friends. You know, even my wife knew who they were and stuff like that. So yeah, it was cool. Like I literally sat there, watched them do like 8 drawings. Then I watched the Attack on Titan recap. That was pretty good. What else? So anyway, watch the recap, right? And then I go around to sort of like look at so I went to look at the entrance again because I felt like maybe there is more brands. Maybe I just wasn't really like acutely aware of them on day one because we were just walking like direct. Yeah. And to be honest with you, it was kind of what we had sort of experienced on day one. There wasn't really anything special. I did buy like a discounted cinema. The cinema is normally like $5 ticket, so I got it for like $3 for £4. So it was like it was a saving of some kind, but they let you do a spin the wheel thing. But then this YouTuber like artist couple, they also do a meet and greet. They do a meet and greet, right? So I'm thinking, oh, meet and greet, it's gonna cost money. Like everything in the, like, be honest, most of the meet and greets in the UK, they cost money, right? They're not free, innit?
You know, you are the only person I know that does meet and greets.
Okay, so yeah, so
I trust you, yeah.
So from my knowledge, most of them cost money, right? So when it's a meet and greet and it's on the schedule, like I'm not gonna assume that it's for free, right? So I'm like, perusing slowly through this whole thing, and it gets close to the end of their meet and greet, and I've got nothing left to do. So I'm like, well, I might as well meet them because like I'm like a semi fan of their like group, and I like who they hang out with, and they seem like pretty nice people, so I'll meet them. So maybe there's like 15-20 minutes left of the meet and greet, and I'm more looking for like a signature. Like I was like, you know what, it would be cool to have a signature from them. And I get in the queue, and then someone comes out with a bullhorn, and it's sort of like, the meet and greet is kind of over. You can walk past them and take a selfie, but there's no more time to do it, like to actually meet them. And I'm like, you know what, cool. I'll participate in whatever this is now because I've waited for like, I don't know, 15 minutes. So everyone's like it's like a semi-brisk walk, like walking past, like walking, yeah. And I got my phone ready, I got my like angles ready, and as I'm walking, one of the attendants passed me this. They passed me this is kind of what I wanted anyway, and they passed me like a signed little kind of thing of them, and I was like, well, this is kind of what I wanted, like, meeting famous people, or like, yeah, they're I'd say they're YouTube famous or whatever, but like meeting them, I always feel awkward anyway. I'm like, I don't know what to say, like, I enjoy your work, I'd like there to be some kind of conversation of sorts. but I don't really know what I'd say, and I've only seen a few of their content. So, you know, getting this and then not necessarily meeting them might have been the better way for someone who's socially anxious. But it was cool, you know. I'm glad that they were handing these out. And it's actually legitimately signed. It's not like a print. It's actually, I don't know if you can see that, but it's signed. So yeah, that was cool. I also got, I don't think I've mentioned this, but I also got a commission made of me and my wife. So that was cool. You know what? I wonder if, I can't show you because I'm using my phone to record. But basically I wanted like anime versions of us, and she did such a good job. She did, like, it was amazing. And literally almost brought a tear to my eye, because it was like, it's like reliving the wedding a little bit, you know? Yeah, and that's what I wanted as a, I wanted it as a Pokemon card. I wanted one of those pictures as a Pokemon card. I can't find his name. And it's not in the ledger. But yeah, you know what? Genuinely,
you have to systematically go through it.
You know what? Genuinely, it made me appreciate London Comic Con a lot more. Like, I do genuinely think it's probably one of the better conventions probably in the world. Like, the level of organization, the food. This was a bit disappointing as well. They didn't let us take any food, so we knew we couldn't take any food, so we didn't have any food with us. But you can't take food into the event. But like, and there was literally a table with just food that people weren't allowed, food and drinks that people weren't allowed to take in. Like, they did let us take in water and stuff, but there was like other stuff people just weren't allowed to take in. But then when you go to the food court was abysmally like small. And for Malaysia, that's like so beyond disappointing, because you had to exit the event to get good food, but you had to wait 2 hours, and it's like, come on, like this is Malaysia. Like, your food is literally so amazing, and you're telling me that there's no great. Ironically, one of the rices was good, but it was just a bit cold, and the fact that there wasn't really any options, it's just like, it didn't feel like it was representative of Malaysia's like amazing cuisine. You know, say what you want about the UK Comic Con, but there's definitely a lot of different food options, and it might be a bit expensive, but it's decent. Like, it's not bad. And that was quite disappointing as well, to be honest with you. In matter of fact, they overcharged us. They charged us for like 2 burgers. The burger wasn't even that good. Like, it was stone cold. But at that point, I was so hungry. I was just literally just like, I gotta eat this. And then we had to wait like 20 minutes for the dude to like refund. This was all before the solo leveling thing. So really, if it wasn't for the solo leveling, like, yeah, we would have probably left. Like, it was that bad. The second day, I wasn't even planning to go the second day. It was that bad. I was like, I don't even know if I want to come now. In the end, I settled for not going for when it opened, just sort of going at my own pace. And that was kind of good enough.
Okay.
Sorry, I know I've just been like talking, but yeah, it was a lot.
No, it's interesting. Were people dressed up?
Loads of people. So
Did you dress up?
no, I did not dress up. My thing is this. I think I like to dress up, but I like to dress up as something like that is quite straightforward. So I might next time go as one of the anime characters. He wears like this blue shirt. He's got this like leopard spot tie is like the standout design, I'd say. But it's quite simple. You just need to find a blue shirt, some suspenders, maybe do your hair a little bit. So it's not that complicated. So I like that kind of stuff for me. But for other people, I like to see like the intricate stuff. There was one guy who was dressed as Sephiroth, and it was like probably the best one I've seen. So what I found interesting, because this is where it's actually located is in front of the Twin Towers. So what I think this is also an excuse for people to dress up as the cosplay and then take like all of these like glamorous shots like in front of the Twin Towers, because when you step out of the event, the meetups were basically like all in and around like the Twin Towers, because there's like forestry, there's like the trees have like multiple branches, like it's not like a single, like, you know, when you have a tree, it's like a big trunk, but it's not like that. It's more like the branches are like all the branches and they're going into the floor. So like aesthetically for like glamour shots, it looks amazing.
You mean like a weeping willow kind of tree?
More like a forest, more like a swamp tree that has like multiple roots. Like I know what you mean. Weeping willow, not really, because it's got more. The stem is not like one stem. It's like a multiple, like a swamp, like kind of like this. Like there's like multiple, like things going into the.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see what you mean.
Yeah. So there's stuff like that, literally like in front of the Twin Towers, and that's really cool. So there was a lot of that. I didn't spend too much time like looking at the cosplays that much. Like I took a photo with a couple of Power Rangers, and that was kind of it. And the Sephiroth dude, we came across him again, so I took a few photos with him. But I didn't really, I don't know, like for me, like, you know, I don't like seeing people who just walk around and they're just holding swords. Like that's not interesting to me. Like you know, the Sephiroth guy, if you see him, he had a full face of makeup. He had the hair. He had a lot of, because the new game, it shows a lot more detail in Sephiroth, and he more or less nailed like every single detail. So yeah, shout outs to him. He was really good. But that was kind of it. We had a little, where the Twin Towers is, there's a lot of food. So once we exited, we got some food, and yeah, that was it. But I do miss London Comic Con. honestly, like, trust me, if we do end up coming back to the UK, big time, I want to.
Especially now, EGX is part of it.
Is it?
Yeah. So
Okay,
this year
okay.
was like the biggest one I've definitely ever been to, because it was the first year they included it, and tickets sold out so quickly. It was so busy.
See, yeah, this is what I mean. Like, I definitely miss like the organization of London, and like, yeah, it just felt like there was more. It felt like there was more to see, even if you're not gonna necessarily buy. It just felt like you could see comic. The variety is like, it's a much wider spanning variety of things. And normally I would leave with like 2-3 purchases that I was really happy with. Don't get me wrong, there was definitely some saviors of this event for sure. But you know, if I didn't know about them, and if I didn't like this one, I attended completely by accident. And if I didn't do that, that day would have felt like not as good to me. Yeah, so yeah, that was my experience. I do believe that there is. It's confusing, right? Because you try and research things to go to, and sometimes it's hard to find. And like, so there's like a million malls here. There's so many malls, but then malls sometimes do their own conventions, and sometimes those are really popular. And then you've got something called Asia Pop Convention. So you know, a lot of celebrities go to that. I found out, but we didn't know at the time because we just moved. But now the next one is in May, so like it's gonna take a while before we get to go to that. So yeah, it's definitely interesting trying to find all this stuff. But yeah, that was my first full-on convention experience. I know.
Interesting.
I know. Yeah, it was cool.
Is there a lot about it on like Reddit and stuff?
Not really, no. I don't like. So basically, the reason I know that is because I went trying to find this Pokemon place. Like, I wanted him to make the card for me, right? So I'm like researching, like, where can I ask this question even? And you can find info about it, but it's like very vague information. It's not really like a lot.
I know there were definitely 2 people at this year's Comic Con that were doing like custom Pokemon cards. One of them was giant Pokemon cards, and one of them was shiny Pokemon cards that you could get customized. But I didn't. I had no interest in them. Sorry, I'm a Digimon girl. So I was like, I wonder if I could make that myself, but in Digimon.
You know, there was a couple of Digimon booths as well, actually. They had some decent stuff. Yeah, they had some pretty decent stuff.
Yeah. like talking to my partner about like other conventions, it sounds like Digimon is a thing everywhere but here.
Yeah, they
Because
do.
even like my friend in Germany like loves Digimon. It's just like, but why no Digimon for UK?
Yeah, there was a couple of things, but nothing like that stood out for me that much. They were cool. They were cool to see, but yeah, and I recorded a little bit of the event. I
Mm.
didn't record too much because it just didn't. Nothing felt too captivating. I don't know, like
Ooh,
yeah,
are we gonna have a short?
maybe one or two. Yeah. There's a
Yay!
few bits. Maybe I can relate some of the challenges. But that's kind of it. Did you want to
But I
ask?
think
Oh,
that
sorry, go on.
I was just gonna say I think that's kind of one of the things that our podcast is about. It's recognizing that fact, even though we haven't really said it in a disclaimer, that you can enjoy a thing and really love it, but also recognize its flaws. And recognizing its flaws and saying that it's bad at something doesn't mean that you're saying, this is terrible, don't do it. It's just kind of like, this is where it needs to improve.
Big
But it
time.
doesn't mean that yeah, exactly. I suppose we've never actually said that as a disclaimer, but it is. It's like, yeah, because it's still an event that you went to and it was interesting. It just wasn't what you were expecting, and it wasn't explicit in telling you that it wasn't going to be what you would expect an event
Yeah.
like that with that name to be.
You know what's funny though is like after everything, I feel like I
Mm,
understand it now because like logically it makes sense because a lot of places we've been, Malaysia really pushes independent businesses. Like you can go into a mall, the mall will have 95% will be brands, but then the main
yeah.
floor space, the actual like walking space, will be markets of just independent creators, and that's the first place that I've
Mm,
seen that consistently throughout the year. Like since I've got here, we've had no shortage of like being able to interact with so anytime you feel like I don't want to go to a McDonald's or something, or I don't want to go to this or that, you can literally just turn your
yeah.
head and you'll find them. So I can connect the dots now. Like I know, like okay, makes sense. This is Malaysia. They really want to push their own citizens, which is fine, right? I just didn't really necessarily have an expectation of that before going to the event. But if I did go in the future, I would have that expectation. The one thing that I
Mm,
think they could at least improve on is definitely like the organization of the queuing system was just abysmal. And actually communicating that, yeah, this is going to be more focused on independent creators. Because in Malaysia, it's this thing of like, people know already, so they don't necessarily re-promote stuff, right? People
mm,
know that you're going to go to this mall and therefore this thing is going to be there. But for people like us who don't know anything about that, like how do we find out? We have to find out from locals. Like we have to, like there's no Instagram, there's no this, there's no that. You just find out from a local like, oh yeah, this event is basically all about independent creators.
mm.
But we'll see. I do hold out hope. There was a few standout things that saved us, and thank God they were there. But yeah, that's basically it. Did you want to ask anything else?
Not that I can think of. I'm looking forward to seeing the short.
I will endeavor to try and upload a few bits. I did intentionally make some of them very short as well. So hopefully they can just be.
Even one would be really cool.
I will endeavor. But that is the end of the episode. Thank you for hearing mostly me speak about the experience of my first Malaysian convention. Once again, thank you for joining us. If you do enjoy listening to us, we know there's a lot of things to listen out there. So once again, thank you so much for listening to us. And if you do enjoy it, please leave a comment. Please subscribe and please drop us a like if you can. And that was the end of the episode. We will see you on the next one. Thanks again to the lovely Shanique as well. Goodbye.